In these videos, I'd like to talk about the anatomy of a theater. In these videos, we'll talk a little bit about seating configurations, about how we arrange seats versus how stages are laid out. We'll talk about the specific parts of the theater, from the stage to the fly house, lighting positions, seating areas, the areas under the stage. And then we'll talk about theater drops, theater fabric, legs and borders. All of those together are commonly known as soft goods. So we'll chat about that. We'll also talk about plan and section views, which are two-dimensional drawings that show us in scale the layout of the space. We'll talk about sight lines. I will have a unit on fly systems, just a little overview, and then we'll talk about stage movement. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And the first thing I'd like to talk about is let's use the proscenium space, right? So the word proscenium is actually a pro and then scenium, so it's a frame. It's a frame that we look through. It's like a picture frame. So we look into the world that we build of the play. Usually we're only looking in from one direction, right? So it's a very controlled view. The proscenium is defined as the proscenium arch, or the opening that is around the stage. It forms that picture frame that we look through. Proscenium arches can be incredibly ornate. They can be very boring. Sometimes they're even a little bit vague as to where they really are, or they can be defined by the user. Sometimes they're adjustable. But the proscenium arch is actually the frame that creates the edges of the picture that we are then looking into. So the next type of stage configuration is a thrust. A thrust stage has seating on three sides. It usually has some sort of proscenium and then some kind of backstage area where things can come and go from, and some scenery there. But a thrust is defined as this tongue that sticks out into the space, and then you have seating that wraps around on all three sides. So that's a thrust stage. Next is arena, or in the round. Sometimes they're round, sometimes they're square, it depends, right? But arena is seating on all four sides. Oftentimes there are these voms or vomitoriums where actors and small scenic stuff can come and go through here. You can see up in this one, the vomitoriums are often located on the corners depending on how the space is laid out. Some theater in the round is actually round, which creates its own challenges. There are a lot of challenges to doing theater in the round, but it's a really beautiful way to work also. So the last one that I would like to talk about is transverse, or tennis court, or I know it as alley, the alley configuration. An alley configuration is, or transverse, is where you have seating on either side. It's almost like a runway in a fashion show, except you don't really have an end to it. The scenery is typically located at the ends of the alley or of the tennis court. So one end would have scenery, and then the other end would have scenery. And here's a little a picture of people attending a show. It's really a wonderful way to work, and the cool thing about it is that all of the audience is looking across at all of the other audience, which is a really unique perspective to think about doing shows in. So that's what we are for seating configurations. That's a proscenium, the thrust stage, an arena or theater in the round, and then a transverse stage.